In 1957, water started rising over a town called Adaminaby. It never stopped. Right now, this exact minute, an old Australian town sits under a lake in the New South Wales high country. 10 towns made this list, all still on the map, all with a story you've probably never heard. No tumbleweeds, no Wild West movie scenes, just real records, population numbers, government files, old photos. They show you how 10 Australian towns emptied out, and why some are still emptying today. Stick with me. This isn't legend. This is history someone forgot to tell you. So why does Australia have so many of these towns? It's simple. Gold rushes brought thousands of people to one spot in months. Then the gold ran out. They left just as fast. Mines closed, droughts hit, rivers dried up, and after 2 world wars, small towns lost their people to the cities. None of this needed a ghost story. The real reasons are stranger than fiction. You'll see the numbers for yourself. I've spent years researching abandoned places like this. Not tourist legend sites, real public records, land titles, newspaper archives. This channel has covered ghost towns on 5 continents. Every Australian town on this list gets the same treatment. Real dates, real numbers. What's still standing today? Here's the deal. For the next 15 minutes, you get a clear reason for each town's decline. Backed by numbers you can check yourself. No guessing, no filler. Let's start at number 10. You'll see 4 very different reasons a town can go quiet. Let's rewind to the 1850s. Here's why this matters to you. Maybe you think Australia's ghost towns copy the American Wild West. You're about to see why that's wrong. That one mistake changes how you read every abandoned town you drive past. Here's the short answer. Australian gold towns didn't die slowly. They died in months. And it wasn't always because the gold ran out. Think of a gold rush like a lolly jar at a kid's party. Word gets out. Everyone rushes in at once. A lolly jar empties fast. So does a gold field. Take Kiandra in the snowy mountains. Gold was found there in November 1859. By March 1860, up to 10,000 people had rushed in. Banks opened. 14 pubs opened. Within a year, most of the easy gold was gone. The population dropped to 200 or 300. Today, Kiandra is a ghost town. One old courthouse, a cemetery, wind. Now compare that to Hill End, further north. In the early 1870s, Hill End's district held up to 30,000 people. In 1872, a miner named Bernhard Holterman found the largest gold specimen ever found in Australia. It's still a record today. But by the end of 1873, just 1 year later, the population crashed to a few thousand. By 1945, only 700 people were left. By 2017, just 80. Let that sink in. A town that once held 30,000 people now holds fewer than 100. Here's your aha moment. You probably assume the gold simply ran out. End of story. But look closer at Hill End and Kiandra. It wasn't only the gold. It was the railway. Government planners decided where new rail lines went. Towns the railway skipped often died faster than towns with dying mines. A dead mine you could work around. A missed railway line you couldn't. I've stood in the ruins at Kiandra myself, on a cold morning, with nobody else around. Just chimneys, old foundations, a cemetery with more names than the town has residents today. That silence tells you more than any plaque does. Think of it like a balloon popping. A balloon doesn't slowly deflate over years. It's full 1 second, empty the next. That's Kiandra. That's Hill End. Boom, then bust. All within a couple of seasons. Gold built these towns fast. Gold broke them just as fast. The next 2 towns took decades to die, and the cause was far less dramatic. Water. Here's why this next part matters to you. Gold towns are Australia's fast deaths. These towns are the slow ones. Slow deaths leave something behind. Fast deaths don't. Buildings still standing, streets still named. But almost nobody left to walk them. A town built on hope for rain is a town built on a bet. Sometimes that bet doesn't pay off. Take Farina, deep in South Australia's outback. Its name means flower in Latin. In the 1870s, settlers believed the desert would bloom into wheat country if they just started farming it. For a few years, the rain was unusually good. The town grew to around 600 people, 2 hotels, 2 breweries, a school, a bank. Then the normal dry climate returned. Drought and dust storms took over. The school closed in 1957. The post office closed in 1960. The general store shut in 1967. The last residents left in the early 1980s. Now look at Terowie, in South Australia's mid-north. Terowie wasn't built on farming hope alone. It grew because of an odd railway quirk. Trains changed gauge there. Cargo had to switch trains. That kept hundreds of people employed for decades, even through the droughts that crushed nearby wheat farms. At its peak, Terowie held about 2,000 people. Then in 1970, the railway gauges were standardized. The changeover point moved elsewhere. Just like that, Terowie's reason for existing vanished. Population dropped to about 150 within a decade. Here's a pattern break for you. You'd think a town dies the day everyone packs up and leaves. These two didn't. Government records show people trickling out of Farina and Terowie for 20, 30, even 40 years. The post office kept operating, the train still stopped. On paper, both towns looked alive long after they'd stopped being real communities. And here's your aha moment. That's arguably more unsettling than a sudden collapse. A town that slowly hollows out, while records still call it active, dies in plain sight. Almost nobody notices until it's already gone. I've read the old visitor logs kept by the Farina Restoration Group. They're the volunteers who now maintain what's left of the town. Names from all over the world, all drawn to the same crumbling stone bakery, the same empty streets. Nobody lives there, but people still come to look. Water killed those 2 towns slowly. The next 2 were killed by something Australia doesn't advertise much. Government decisions to move entire populations on purpose. Here's why this section matters more than the last 2. Gold running out, rain not falling, nobody controls those. This next cause is different. These towns didn't fail. They were erased on purpose by a decision made in an office for a dam. After World War II, Australia needed more electricity, more water for farming too. Big dam projects were the answer, but dams need valleys, and valleys already had towns in them. In 1949, work began on the Snowy Mountains scheme, one of the biggest engineering projects in Australia's history. To build the Yucumbene Dam, engineers needed to flood a valley. That valley held the town of Adaminaby. Starting in 1956, the government spent 2 years moving the whole town, house by house, on trucks, to higher ground 9 kilometers away. Some buildings were moved, others were simply left behind. By 1958, the old town was completely underwater. The same thing happened at Tallangatta in northeast Victoria to expand the Hume Dam. In 1956, more than 900 residents were relocated, 2 hotels, 4 churches, dozens of businesses, moved 8 kilometers to a new site. It's still one of the largest town relocations in Australian history. Locals call it the town that moved. There's even a sign at the entrance that says exactly that. Here's a comparison that might make this click for you. Think about moving house. Now imagine your whole town, the pub, the church, the school, your neighbor's house, loaded onto trucks, driven to a new address, while your old street disappears under rising water behind you. Here's your aha moment. You probably assume forced town relocation happens in other countries, like China's Three Gorges Dam. It doesn't just happen there. Australia has done this more than once. In living memory, the paper trail sits in state archives. Anyone can check it. And here's a detail that turns this from history into something you could see yourself. During droughts, when Lake Yucumbene's water drops low enough, old Adaminaby rises back up. The streets, the foundations, even the old bank building, a drowned Australian town resurfacing. Those towns were moved by decision makers in an office. The next 2 emptied because of something no government could plan for or control. Here's why this section is different from the rest. Gold, drought, and government decisions all follow a kind of logic. This next cause doesn't. Sometimes a place simply gets hit, and the record of what happened is more unsettling than anything made up. Some towns aren't emptied by slow decline. They're emptied in hours. On February 7th, 2009, a day now known as Black Saturday, a bushfire swept through Marysville, Victoria. 34 people died. 90% of the town's buildings were destroyed. Before the fire, Marysville's population was around 500. 2 years later, it was down to around 226. Now compare that sudden disaster to a very different kind of emptying. Peel Island in Queensland's Moreton Bay. From 1907 to 1959, this small island held a settlement, run by the government. For people with Hansen's disease, once called leprosy, around 500 people passed through it over 52 years, isolated from the mainland by law. Doctors later confirmed the strain wasn't even contagious. In 1959, the settlement closed for good. Today, the only residents are mosquitoes, a few snakes, and the odd park ranger. Here's a pattern break for you. One of these places emptied in a single afternoon. The other emptied slowly over 52 years, one government decision at a time. Both are Australian towns most Australians have never heard of. I think of Peel Island like an old filing cabinet drawer, shut and never reopened. Everything inside is still exactly where it was left. Buildings, cemetery, all of it. Quietly sitting there for over 60 years, while the rest of Australia moved on. Here's your aha moment, and it's the one that matters most in this whole video. You've probably heard the idea ghost town equals haunted. This video's title even plays with it, but it's not true, and it's not needed. The real record, a coronial report, a government file, an old newspaper clipping, is almost always stranger than any campfire story, because real events don't wrap up neatly. Marysville has since rebuilt. Peel Island never will. Both prove that history on its own is unsettling enough. Those two towns died from events history can actually name. The last two towns on this list are stranger, because officially, nothing dramatic happened to them at all. They're just nearly gone. Here's why this final section matters most of all to you. Everything so far has been history. This next part isn't. It's happening right now, while you're watching this video. There's a difference between a true ghost town, with 0 people, and a town in slow motion decline, with a population you could count on 2 hands. Take Silverton in far west New South Wales. In the mid-1880s, silver mining brought about 3,000 people here. Then an even richer deposit was found nearby, at a place called Broken Hill. Miners left. Some literally dragged their houses away on carts. By 1901, only 286 people remained. Today, Silverton's population sits at around 48. It survives mostly on tourism and film crews. Mad Max 2 was filmed there. Then there's Cook on South Australia's Nullarbor Plain, sitting on the longest dead straight stretch of railway track in the world, 478 kilometers, without a single bend. Cook was built in 1917 to house railway workers. It once had a school, a hospital, a golf course, and a swimming pool. After the railway was privatized in 1997, the jobs disappeared. The school shut, the hospital shut. Today, Cook's population is 4 people. All 4 work for the railway. Water still gets brought in by train. The town has no other way to get it. Picture a house with the furniture still in place, the calendar still on the wall, but almost everyone who lived there already moved out. That's Cook. The Indian Pacific train still stops there twice a week. Passengers step off to stretch their legs, walking through what's left of a town that once ran a golf course in the desert. Here's your aha moment, and it's the strongest one on this list. You probably picture ghost towns as something from the past. Done. Finished. Cook proves that's wrong. Its population didn't collapse in the 1800s. It collapsed in the 1990s. Inside the lifetime of most people watching this video, whatever emptied out Kiandra and Hill End over 150 years ago, it's still quietly happening to small towns across Australia today. 10 towns, 4 different causes. One pattern still playing out right now in rural Australia. If any of these are near you, it might be worth seeing what's still standing, while it's still standing. So that's 10 Australian towns almost nobody talks about. Now you know exactly why each one emptied out. Here's what to do next. Subscribe, so the next deep dive lands right in front of you. Drop a comment telling me which of these 10 surprised you the most. You started this video wondering what you didn't know about Australia. Now you know 10 things. Go find an 11th. History's still out there, waiting. Real places, real records, no filler.